This is a Fox News alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. We're awaiting live comments from President Obama in Texas about the immigration crisis and what to do with tens of thousands of illegal immigrant children who've crossed the border. In the meantime, a new charge that the White House tried to get one member of the president's own party to stop criticizing him. The Texas Democratic congressman raising concerns about how the president is handling the immigration situation on the South Texas border says he has been ordered to stop it quickly. This comes as the president converts a political fundraising trip into a hastily arranged roundtable briefing on this developing situation. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry is traveling with the president and reports tonight from Dallas. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Brett. At this very moment, the president, Governor Perry, other local officials in this high-stakes meeting at the executive terminal at this airport. Right behind me, White House aides say the president wants to find common ground, but they're drawing one line in the sand. He will not give in. He will not go visit the border on this trip. President Obama touched down in Texas to a much friendlier greeting from Republican Governor Rick Perry than either side ever expected, though the president continues to get much rougher treatment from a fellow Democrat, outspoken Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar, who was asked by Fox if he's gotten a call demanding he stop criticizing the president's border policies.
Yes, I have. But let me just say this. I'm more concerned not about who gets angry at me at the White House. I'm more concerned about my constituents.
Who called you?
We'll just leave it like that.
Other Democrats say they're unaware of any attempt to intimidate Cuellar, who previously charged the failure to deal with the surge of more than 50,000 children arriving from Central America could be Mr. Obama's Katrina. Cuellar made clear today he's not backing down. And while he gave the president credit for meeting with Perry, the congressman said Mr. Obama should go the extra few hundred miles to visit the border instead of just fundraising his way through Dallas and Austin, especially after the optics of the president casually playing pool at a bar with the governor of Colorado last night.
He ought to be meeting with the border leaders. He can get on Air Force One, be there in half an hour. Personally, I think a leader will be defined by how he handles a challenge.
Cuellar also suggested he shares some of the skepticism Republicans are raising about the president's $3.7 billion emergency request for new taxpayer money to deal with the crisis.
If you look at the president's request, it's all more about continuing to deal with the problem. We've got to do something about sealing the border and ending this problem so that we can begin to move on with the bigger question of immigration reform.
Democrats fired back it's disingenuous for Republicans to talk about reform when for months they've been blocking the president's efforts to move forward on a comprehensive plan. And they insist it's not the president's fault that criminals in Central America are conning parents into sending their kids to America.
That's where the surge has come. It's almost like the crisis in Syria generated this enormous crisis on the border of Jordan. I don't think in any way you can fault the administration for this.
Although the president did not reach out and try to work with Republicans the last time he visited the border in 2011, when he mocked them as someone in the crowd shouted racist.
Racist. You know, they said we needed to triple the Border Patrol. Or now they're going to say we need to quadruple the Border Patrol. Or they'll want a higher fence. Maybe they'll need a moat. Maybe they want alligators in the moat. They'll never be satisfied.
Meanwhile, organized labor is urging the president to make an end run around Congress. The AFL-CIO launching a petition for an executive order that would aid immigrants who are flooding the border. Of course, there's that little matter. The Speaker John Boehner suing the president to stop such unilateral actions. Brett?
Ed Henry traveling with the president in Dallas. We'll head back for those live comments when they come later in the show. Thanks, Ed. Earlier today, the president was in Colorado for a fundraiser to benefit incumbent Democratic Senator Mark Udall, who is considered vulnerable this fall. But Udall himself did not show up. Correspondent Alicia Acuna tells us why.
And I'm here for every American who works their tail off.
The president is also in the Centennial State to raise cash for Democratic Senator Mark Udall running for re-election. Udall skipped a fundraiser that his campaign was throwing, where the president was the featured guest. His office says it was due to last-minute votes and legislative activity.
This is an important and righteous cause that we're all involved in.
The senator was introducing a bill to reverse the recent Supreme Court decision in the Hobby Lobby case.
It is entirely possible that Colorado seat
could be the extra one the Republicans need to take control of the Senate.
The Democrat seat had appeared relatively safe until two-term Colorado Congressman Cory Gardner jumped in. Since then, nearly all polls show the candidates within 2 percentage points. Now, with the president's first appearance in a midterm battle, Gardner is seizing the opportunity.
Let me utter 2 really sweet words. President Obama.
Both campaigns are fighting for women voters. Gardner says he no longer supports ballot measures to grant fertilized eggs legal protection. Udall's not buying it.
My opponent, Congressman Gardner, led a crusade that would make birth control illegal and sponsored a bill to make abortion a felony.
He's running a campaign on what clearly is a desperation technique to try to distract the voters from the real issues.
Udall hopes images like this will not distract from the issues he supports.
We could raise the minimum wage, pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, make sure people can go to college.
Recently touted as a conservative reformer by GOP heavyweight Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Gardner misses no chance to tie the Colorado senator to the president.
Senator Udall cast a deciding vote on Obamacare.
Analysts say this tight race could come down to those with no allegiance. Colorado's electorate is divided like this: about a third Dems, a third Republicans, and a third unaffiliated, the latter having the highest percentage. Brett.
Alicia Acuna in Denver. Alicia, thank you. The missing IRS emails dealing with the IRS targeting scandal. Tonight, a new email is adding another element to the investigation. It involves a preemptive warning from the woman at the center of this lost email controversy. Chief Political Correspondent Carl Cameron has the story.
Republicans investigating the IRS scandal have uncovered an email by former IRS official Lois Lerner in which she describes warning colleagues about what they put in emails lest Congress get a hold of them. Quote, I was cautioning folks about email and how we have had several occasions where Congress has asked for emails and there has been an electronic search for responsive emails. So we need to be cautious about what we say in emails. That was written in April of last year, shortly after the IRS Inspector General began investigating IRS's targeting of conservative groups seeking tax-exempt status. Lerner's emails also alerted lawmakers for the first time to a text messaging service at IRS called OCS. Lerner wrote to a colleague, quote, someone asked if OCS conversations were also searchable. I don't know, but I told them I would get back to them. Do you know? Upon learning IRS text messages were not automatically saved, her one-word response was, quote, perfect.
Lois Lerner asked and wanted to make sure that it wasn't being tracked and traced.
Text messages should have been turned over to lawmakers under existing congressional subpoenas. Republicans see a cover-up.
Where Ms. Lerner says, wow, I know I've gotten rid of the emails when the computer crashed 2 years earlier, but I better double check on this intra-office instant messaging capability we have here at the Internal Revenue Service.
Lerner's pleaded the Fifth Amendment and refused to testify or cooperate with Congress. The IRS says thousands of her subpoenaed emails were lost in that computer crash. One Democrat even read a statement from her lawyer.
The facts are that Ms. Lerner did not destroy any records subject to the Federal Records Act.
The fireworks all but eclipsed the official purpose of the hearing, an IRS report saying the government improperly paid out $106 billion to people last year who may not have been eligible, including Medicare, $50 billion for treatments that may not have been necessary, Medicaid, $14.4 billion in improper payments, and unemployment insurance, $6.2 billion for people who had jobs. And it's not a new problem.
Actually, it's over $100 billion each of the last 5 years. That's a staggering $500 billion.
But even those numbers are low, according to a 50-page memo from the Government Accountability Office, which said sweeping procedural reforms are needed across the government, and they're probably lower. Lawmakers warned the IRS they should not expect to get more taxpayer money just to stop what they have already been wasting. And, of course, when you add Lerner to all of this, they're not just wasting, they're really aggravating Congress.
So, Carl, Lois Lerner essentially in that email is saying and warning people not to put things in writing, which she does
in writing. It's amazing. And it's got Republicans beside themselves with anger and outrage. And, frankly, they see the irony in it, and they think that they could like to wrap it around her neck.
Okay, Carl, thank you. Stocks were up today. The Dow gained 79. The S&P 500 finished ahead 9. The Nasdaq picked up 28. Up next, are we getting any closer to an Israeli ground invasion of Gaza? Breaking news tonight on that. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates across the country are covering tonight. WSVN in Miami with the arrest of 2 University of Miami football players on sexual assault charges. Police say linebackers Alex Figueroa and Jawan Blue drugged and raped a 17-year-old student. They have been dismissed from the team and suspended from school. Fox 8 in New Orleans with a 10-year prison sentence for former Mayor Ray Nagin. The Democrat was convicted of bribery, money laundering, and other corruption charges. Nagin served 2 terms as mayor, including the time surrounding Hurricane Katrina. And this is a live look at Denver from our affiliate there, Fox 31. Breaking news there tonight, a Colorado judge has just struck down the state's ban on gay marriage. The judge has put the ruling on hold pending appeal. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.